sounds to me like you really liked him, but you were finding, you said, reasons, trying to find reasons for him liking you. It was very hard for you to kind of really incorporate this person who was presenting to you as quite a normal guy, liking you in a way a normal guy likes a woman, and yet you couldn't figure out why that was.
Mm-hmm.
You kept testing him on it.
Correct.
Okay. And the tests came in little ways, and then sometimes in big ways, whereby you would want to, you would make up reasons to leave just so that he would beg you to stay.
Correct.
And this all makes sense to me. A lot of sense. Because we look at it under the lens of what you had as a child but had no control over. When you think about it, you likely did things when you were a child, from a child's way of doing it, that were testing your mom's love. And you know what you found out?
Yeah.
What do you think I'm going to say?
I wanted to say.
Right, that it wasn't there.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That it wasn't there in the way that it really, you know, we can say in life there's some, it should have been, right?
Correct.
And it wasn't. So as an adult, when someone shows you love, there's a couple things that happen. A, it doesn't ring true to you. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind of like foreign. It's kind of like tasting food you never tasted before. It's like, is this good or not? I'm not sure. I have nothing to compare it to. I've never tasted this food before. So I don't know if it's good or not. Even if it tastes somewhat good and feels somewhat good, it's like, well, it's like people who've never had real Chinese cuisine. And they've only eaten at, a fast food Chinese place. That's not the real Chinese food, right? You taste it, it's like, when you taste the real thing, if you ever do, it's like, well, is this is Chinese food? Oh, I didn't know. I thought the other stuff from the fast food place was, right?
Right.
You have nothing to foundationally connect to when someone is loving you.
Yeah.
And just giving you love because you are. I might go out on a limb and say when you were young, you got maybe some praise or some kudos or some good feedback when you did things that were right for your mom. If you've always behaved well and were good, at least you didn't get her being upset or her being angry or not acting out on you, right?
Right.
But other than that, you got nothing coming towards you in terms of love and affection.
Yeah, that's right.
So when a man is going to give you that, you are going to foundationally question it at every level. Like, why? It doesn't, in some ways, make sense to you. And so you test it.
Right.
You're going to test it. You're going to think, so that he's having to prove it. And here's what I'm going to tell you about that. That he can only do what is in a normal way to do for him to show you his feelings. But he can never make you feel it. You are going to have to do something different in terms of relating to men And you're going to have to do the work on it so that you can just accept it. Does that make sense?
It makes totally, it makes sense, and I'm able to do it because I don't want to be in the situation. Like I get in relationship and I happy, but when I get home, I start questioning and I like asking things or finding reasons to leave and not enjoying the moment, and then when the person finally get tired of the situation that they left, and then I feel that feeling of they didn't like me or they really love me or they really accept who I am, and then comes this feeling of loneliness and emptiness.
Yes. And I want to get more into that about what you can actually do. There are always two ways, there's more, of course, but always two really big ways whereby with a situation like this, you can address it in a way that can have positive outcomes. And I want to get more into those, and I'm going to do that right after we come back.
Are you ready to move forward with a man who's dragging his heels? If you're ready to be completely committed and experience what it's like to have your man coming to you to make things exclusive and move towards a formal commitment, connect with Coach Paula on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or simply by taking one of her free relationship evaluations at willhecommit.com.
So we're talking to Emma about a situation that so many women find themselves in when they had less than, ideal childhoods, whereby they were given the love and affection and support, attention that children need. It's just part of us as human beings that we need a certain level of love, attention, and affection in order to be thriving adults. And I dare say there was something in your background, Emma, that you got a modicum of a foundational level, but it was damaging in another way, in that the love and real acceptance and the reciprocal receiving love from a parent and giving it back was certainly not ideal, and not there to the degree that would render you an adult who could be accepting of it easily.
Correct.
Yeah. There are two ways in which adults tend to approach this once they are where you are, which is really being aware of it. And that's a big credit to you from your letter and just in talking to you right before we went on air and in this podcast. You are a very, very bright and educated woman.
Thank you.
That's a testament to you and to all that you've done, right? That's fantastic. And that can be very helpful because you have kind of discovered this whole other world outside of that from which you came in your household, in your young childhood, your home life as a child. And you are aware now of what you didn't get. The two ways to address that are what I would consider like what we call a traditional approach from the last, I would say, 50, 60 years. And that is therapy, counseling. Have you done that?
I have been reading, and I get to the point I figure out that I need therapy before jumping in relationships. I need therapy. Yep, definitely, I agree with you.
Well, I'm not stating it as a need. I'm just stating it as a possibility. In other words, that's the way many people go with this. And when we're talking, I'm hearing my listeners thinking out loud, and the listeners are thinking, wow, this is a therapeutic situation. not a coaching situation. And actually, I would challenge that perception, because there are two ways. The first way, which we said, is therapy, and the second is extreme awareness and coaching and doing it behaviorally. And I'm hearing from you the stability. You told me you have a good job, you've been a seriously independent woman, you take care of business, you're taking care of your life. You have a foundation in order to do this in a behavioral fashion. Each approach is as valid as the other. It's really what you commit to and what you're willing to do. Because each can lead you to a certain, a place in your life where this can be, I dare say, not completely healed, because those wounds are very, very deep, and there will always be a scar in some ways, if you know what I mean.
That's right. Always.
Always. However, you can kind of sew it up and heal it to a degree if you continue to put the salve on it almost on a daily basis of working on it so that the scar is not as huge as it would be otherwise. And what I mean by that is going down either of these roads, you are going to potentially lessen the damage and make the scar as small as it can be, but you must continually put the salve on it so that it doesn't open up again.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah. And you can absolutely do that. And for women who are in a relationship, or there is a particular man that they are interested in, or it is dating, I come from a stance and an approach that romantic relationships are the piece of equipment, or that we exercise all of this in order to work it out. In other words, there are many times whereby, you will have friends, and that doesn't work on it in quite the same way as an intimate, romantic
That's true.
relationship. Yeah. Because it's not as intimate. It doesn't get to the deepest feelings, and it doesn't tackle it in quite the same way. But in the end, what's really interesting to me is that no matter our personal situation, whether it's like yours or someone else where it's a very different situation, it's still the same when it comes down to being with a man. And it is us finding good men who can have the ability, the capacity, the willingness, the desire to love us and be in relationship with us, and then doing what we need to do and working it out. Right. And you can do that. It really does it still takes a lot of work, but you can do it if you commit to the work. And it's, regardless your situation or another's, it's always about us doing the work and not putting it onto the man, not making it really about him, so to speak, and certainly not involving him in a way that will put the problem onto him. And that can sound, well, then how do you do it? Because if it's not about him, if he's not going to be part of it and brought into it, how do we do it? And I can say this about that, that if you were doing therapy, say, for this, and every week, maybe twice a week, but at least once a week, you're going to see your therapist to work on this about your situation, yourself. Would you be going to your man and discussing that therapy with him?
If I will go?
If you would. Yeah, if you were going, would you want to go and discuss it with him?
Maybe how the therapy is going?
Other than I'm going and I'm working on it.
Being him?
That's pretty much it. Because you see, it's not about him. If you're doing therapy, it's not to change somebody else, right?
Yeah.
At all. It's not to work on him. It's about you. And so whether it's therapy or whether it's coaching is behaviorally doing what it is that will get us the result that we desire. It's really about us and doing the work so that we get close to what it is and have an outcome that is positive. Because if you have the outcome that is positive for you, your relationship with a man has a chance of going the distance.
Yeah.
And you can, what I'm hearing, your desire with Max.
Yeah.
You can do that, but it will take a lot of work on your end to be handling things in a way that are going to be at times almost, certainly uncomfortable at times for you, doing things that will be confusing emotionally for you, questioning, certainly at times even feeling a bit inauthentic to move through the fear, through the possibility of rejection, and through time to allow this man's love and this relationship to do that healing. Again, you certainly have to be, scarring up and putting salve on the scar each day, and that's by being aware that this is there and it is always there, but you can do it.
Yeah.
So I want you to ask me questions about that and see if it can be made more clear, because I'm sure you have questions about that. How can I make it more clear?
Yes, I do. One of the questions I have, like I say, I broke up with Max, and I have been missing him a lot, and I have felt so tempted to contact him, but I wanted to wait to talk to you first and get your opinion about this. It's a good idea, like contacting him now, like reaching out and say, like, I want to fix things. If he is still single, I'm hoping he is still single. So do you think should I contact him now or wait a little bit?
It's really not as much a question of waiting or not waiting in this instance. It's really going to be a la what I talk about all the time. It's not just what you say, it's going to be how you say it, and most of all, showing him change. Remember, if you've heard all my podcasts, it's we relate via verbalization, they relate via action.
Correct, yeah.
So when you show change and set about the work of doing it and making the change, again, for yourself, because again, it always comes down to the change for ourselves. The change either through, I'm going to do therapy and change, or I'm going to make these changes along with the relationship, utilizing the relationship and the man to show me in a way and to show him and make the change behaviorally, always for yourself, but see the consequences of it in playing out in the relationship. So as to the question of do I reach out to him now, it's if you do, how you do it.
That's my question.
Right? And what
Yeah.
you say.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And then it's following through on really the work that needs to be done with it. So it would look something like this. One of the things that men who have been maybe felt rejected in a relationship, hurt, because he had hurt. He really sounds like he really cared about you a lot.
Yes.
And he's going to be, he's going to feel like a little wary because, well, if I do this, what's changed? You see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not so much about time, although time comes into play. For example, if someone comes to you in a week and says, I've changed my whole way of life, in 1 week, that's a really big statement, correct? How many people change their whole life in 1 week?
Correct.
Yeah.
Not many people.
Right. However, if they gave you a list of the actual tangible things that they have done to show you that they have made change, you will more believe it, correct?
Correct.
So it would either be in speaking or in letter form, and if you're even going to speak about it, you have it written down so that when you say it, you get in all the points. We'll go back to, again, if somebody's going to change their life in a short period of time, we better have a good list of what the actions were in order to make that change. So you can absolutely say you want to speak to him again if you have it more written out. But it would go something like, Max, in being apart for the time that we've been apart, I've really had some deep realizations about myself. Again, we want to stay away from him and the relationships in terms of it being anything about him. Okay?
Okay.
I've come to realize that due to my, now does he know anything about your past?
No, not much.
Not much. Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I do not suggest, because again, we don't want to bring him into this.
Yeah.
In other words, right, if you were doing therapy, there's no reason for him to come. It's not couples therapy, because he's not the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Right? So we'd want to say something like, I know I haven't said much about it, but there are some issues from my childhood that have made it difficult for me to be accepting of love, kindness, anything good that you want to put in there. Love, kindness, acceptance, support. And I've come to the realization that I've needed to do something about it. And I've set out to do that. And if it's true, you want to say, I'm now working with someone in order to really rectify that for myself and allow me to be open and be able to be accepting of love in my life so that I can give it to the extent that I want to as well. not making this about making it all chaotic and drama-filled around the two of you. You're really recognizing it's not that.
Yeah.
It's me, right?
Yeah.
So that's great because you can really hone in on what it is, and you do have control over you. So this letter is not to be about anything that he has to do or change. You see? So then you say, I would like to, because I'm working on myself in this way, and I feel more able and ready to try because I have the support and the professional help along with it, I hope that we might at least talk and see where you are at this time in terms of possibly seeing each other again. Now, that's going to feel really vulnerable, right?
Yes. I'm really happy that I got the chance to talk to you today because you helped me to clear out so many things that I believed I have, but I was scared to recognize. One of the things that you say, and I really, really love that you say, is that I have fear and fear of being rejected, and that's true. Sometimes I get in relationships like rejecting people before they rejecting me, even when they don't mean to do it. I do it first before they do it because I think they at some point maybe they will do it. And I'm so scared. I'm so scared that maybe they will reject me. That I start like acting out, doing things like, oh, I'm strong and you won't reject me and things like that. So I really love that you mentioned that. And I really love the way you put out how to reach out to him. And still I'm a little scared that he will say no or I'm with somebody else or now it's not the time or I don't think it will work out. But it's something that still I'm like a little scared that it will happen. If again, and I am scared that he will reject me. Even I know that when we were together, he cared about me so much.
I really love that because you're getting to the heart of it, that you have that fear of his rejection.
Yeah.
Absolutely will be there. And here's the thing about courage. Courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is doing it even with the fear. And here's what I know, that even if right now he is scared and he isn't willing to do something maybe right off the bat, he will be thinking, and if that love is there, he will come back. If you do not take this chance, it won't change because you have to be the person to change something.
Correct, yeah.
And this allows him to make the choice. And you can add in, I understand if you're feeling really resistant to this. I want to give you, whatever time you want to think about it. I don't expect an answer right now. I just needed you to know it. That's all.
One of my other biggest fears, like, okay, I reach out to him and he say, okay, let's work on our relationship again. But then he turns the table and he won't like be like before, like he was the one like checking on me all the time, calling me because now I say let's break up, and then I ask him to get back together, and then I fear that he would say, okay, I don't have to do that much work now because she's the one who broke up and she's the one who asked me to get back together. That's another fear that I have.
And this again is about working in the ways that allow the man to continue to wonder, because let's face it, whether or not there are people who are married, we think, well, does the man who's married to the woman, does he just give up because he's married? Not
No.
when she does the approaches that allow him to continue in small, subtle ways to love through wondering. It's constant. Relationships are always constantly being worked on and are on a balancing rope, so to speak. But the woman in a relationship, being the mechanic of a relationship, is always the one fine-tuning the car.
Okay.
So that doesn't stop. And just because you're saying yes to a relationship does not mean that he can just stop or will stop if you do the right approaches and strategies weekly. Because this is going to take quite a bit of work on your part, because there's a lot that you're going to feel during it and not feel. And you are going to be wrestling with a whole host of old hardwiring from your childhood that will bring up issues for you that cannot be brought to him in any way that isn't about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes. He didn't create it,
That's
so
right.
he can't fix it. He can be someone along by your side that walks side by side with you on this journey towards your healing it, right? He can be that person there holding your hand along the way, but you really are deciding to heal it and to continually put the salve on it that is necessary, and it can take, working on it continually. It doesn't go away. This kind of hardwiring is not going to flip a switch and you will then lead a life in a relationship of someone who had completely unconditional love and acceptance as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just cannot. So it does take intentional work on it that it needs to be committed to so that this can go the distance. But I'm hearing two great things. One is your understanding of the need for it. That's first and foremost. Second is that you have a man who has shown you real caring, like you said, love, support.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, that you had a nice relationship. It wasn't ideal, of course, because of the issues, and nothing is, completely ideal. But there wasn't any big red flags in terms of him.
No, at all. That's why I'm missing him so much. And after him, I tried to date a couple people, or I went on a couple of dates, and the connection just wasn't there. With Matt, there's such chemistry, that sense of humor. We finish each other's sentences. I can joke with him all day, and he will catch my joke with other people. They think that I'm taking seriously when I'm just joking, and they don't take my joke, and they get upset. It's just no. Then it's just no.
So what other questions do you have along in terms of this, what we've talked about here today?
You have answered all my questions. I'm so glad that I talked to you today, because I have a clear idea of what is my situation and what options I have. And I also love the insight that you gave me, how to contact him, how to reach out to him. I'm just hoping that things work out. I work on myself, of course. I hope that things work out with him, and if it's not, I will be better prepared for the next relationship.
This is true. This is very true. And it is something that for anyone who's in a situation like this, needing more day-to-day, moment-to-moment help in terms of what exactly you do. What I'm hearing here that's really good for you, Emma, is that he sounds like he is, how do I put this, fairly, in terms of dealing with a man, he's fairly easy.
Very easy, Paula. Very,
right?
very easy.
Yes. And so that's what's going to be good about it. So I'm going to give you just some tips for continuing on here, which is, set about this and be very intentional for yourself and know that you are going to not involve him in this situation, meaning that you're going to, and this is female, we all feel it, talking to him about the issues you've had and vis-a-vis him and your relationship. It's a subtle difference between, some things happened to me as a kid, and they were really hard because I didn't get any, real love, attention, affection from my mother, and I had to do things on my own. That's very, very different than involving him in it, going into real detail, making him listen to it, a la someone who would be in more of a counseling or a therapeutic role in your life, right? Or even a friend, even a girlfriend. In other words, if you need to do that, then it is working with somebody professionally, or you have a wonderful sister, friend, someone female in your life who can do that, but not him.
So, you recommend I let him know that I have some issues from my past, from my childhood, but don't go into details?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Now, if he asks, you can answer it in a way that is, again, as you hear me say, kind of vague.
Okay.
The details must be, and this, for many women hearing it, they can think, well, that's not authentic, that's not being forthcoming, that's not being really honest with it. No, it's not that it's not honest. It's that putting these things on a man does nothing to have his interest stay where it needs to be. And it also can leave him very frustrated because he can't fix it. And when a man can't fix something, it doesn't feel good to him at all. It's like, and you hear me use this analogy all the time because we are the mechanics of a relationship. They are the mechanics of real cars. It is like a car doesn't run, and the man says to you, all that's going on with it, with the intricacies of what's going on with the engine and all the different parts and how all the different parts, they aren't fitting together, and this, that, and the other thing about the actual car. It will just be kind of frustrating to us. It will not compute in the way that it needs to, and we can't be of help with it. Yeah. We're not going to be able to understand it and help. And again, talking in gross generalizations. But it doesn't feel good to us while he drones on about the car and about the engine and about all the minutia of the problems with it, because we can't do anything about it, and we don't really understand it and don't have the same level of interest in it as he does. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Totally sense.
Okay, so it's not that you don't have interest in the car, right? You do. You want it to run. You want it to run well. You want it to look pretty. You want it to feel good when you get in it. That's the level. And it's not like you do not love it. You do. But this is the difference. The man loves you, and what he wants is for you to feel good, be happy, be content in the relationship. So if it's not directly about him, like, for example, honey, when you do this for me, you make me feel so supported. When you bring home the little, thing from the store, it makes me feel so cared about. I'm so happy you're home. Those types of things he's going to soak up and love.
Okay, good
If
to know
it's
it.
right, if it's something he can change, if you wouldn't mind, when you come home, if you would, put your shoes outside the door, I would feel so much better. That's something he can do, right, honey? If you would stop, if you wouldn't mind taking a shower when you come home, because I just feel like during this COVID thing, we all need to be, washing the street off of us or something. That's just your little thing or something that is important to you, and you say it would just make me so happy. Would you mind just 5 minutes? That's something he can do, tangible. Honey, please, if you wouldn't mind not using the word this, because I was traumatized with that and called that as a kid. So whenever you use the word, it just tweaks me. Not you. I know you would never know that. But if you wouldn't mind just not using it, it would mean so much to me. That's something he can do. Otherwise, it is droning on about the engine of the car, so to speak, and that will just make you glaze over, not be interested, not listen, and at worst, frustrated that you can't change it or do anything about it.
Yeah. Hearing you talking makes me miss him even more, because what you just say is totally agree with the tangible part, because one of the things I remember about us is I'm a little kind of neat. I like everything organized. He's not that much. So remember the first time when I went to his apartment, it wasn't that organized, and I say something like joking, but I say something about it. So every time that I went go to his apartment, he will say, "Okay, I woke up early today to organize the apartment," and I will went there, and the apartment was like very neat every time.
Yeah. Yep. That's a great guy. That's exactly what. Yes, it's so sweet, right? Yes, so sweet. So this is something that you can absolutely work with and work on for yourself vis-a-vis him walking by your side with it. So I hope this has been helpful in this way, and if it's something that you want to work on together, we can talk more about that off the air. But I thank you for being on here today and sharing your story in this way. It's very helpful.
Thank you so much for having me. It was very helpful talking to you today.
Oh, great. Thanks. So that was really meaningful and very meaningful to me. I think that these types of issues can, in one conversation, really give us hope, if not a suggestion as to where to go and what to do. And if you're in any type of situation like Emma's, and sometimes it can be similar, but on the opposite end of the scale, certainly reach out to me at realcoachingconversations.com, and we can be talking about it on a podcast. Also, you need to be working with someone on issues like this, because these are long-term projects, so to speak. And we all are, when you think about it. When you think about it, for all of us, we are works in progress. And I love that Emma and all the women who come on here, they are at a certain point of awareness. And that is the biggest step on the road to success. Awareness, and then setting intention, and then following through on what works best with men in romantic relationships. That's what we're about here. So I'm glad that you were here today, and I hope that you will Continue to listen as you have. Subscribe to this podcast. Also, subscribe to me and share on YouTube, and follow me on Instagram. Matter of fact, Emma was a follower and just reached out to me, and I said, yes, let's see about talking. Read my book, all of that, and that's how simple and fast it can be. And I think there was just less than a week turnaround, and we were talking. So I love that connectedness that social media has to offer. So please do that. And remember, in the meantime, with the men and any man in your life, very important to continue to make him wonder.
Thank you for listening to Make Him Wonder. If you've benefited from today's conversation, please subscribe and share. Connect with Coach Paula at makehimwonder.com. There you can take several relationship evaluations, discover her books and other resources, and find out if one of her personalized coaching programs might be right for you.